So earlier this afternoon, Chair Jay Powell held his last press conference as Fed chair. Elisabeth Buchwald has covered the chair over his time in office as chairman, joins me now to pull the strands together of it. I want to start with this. This is the chair talking about inflation and the transitory nature and how that was a theme that was going to bedevil the first few years.
I think the word transitory has different meanings to different people. To many, it carries at times a sense of short-lived. We tend to use it to mean that it won't leave a permanent mark in the form of higher inflation. I think it's probably a good time to retire that word and try to explain more clearly what we mean.
While higher interest rates, slower growth, and softer labor market conditions will bring down inflation, they will also bring some pain to households and businesses.
So how did he do on inflation, do you think?
You know, in the end, he's done pretty well on it. But I think that clip that we just watched there is really important because Powell, by his own admission, has made mistakes. That word transitory has come to haunt him. But he has moved from that and he has learned from it. And he instead had to inflict pain on consumers because the Fed wasn't quick enough at recognizing inflation. Now he's leaving the chairmanship with inflation kind of moving in the wrong direction here, quite oppositely in the wrong direction. But he's done pretty well overall, I would say, after that really bad episode.
But you see, they all missed it. Every central bank had higher inflation as a result of what took place. Why do you think that the Fed was more behind than everybody else?
They were worried. You know, the opposite effect of raising rates too early at a time when supply chains were still not back up and running. I mean, it's easy to say in hindsight as we sit here now, the Fed should have raised rates much sooner. Mm-hmm. But at the time, it was not obvious. The employment market was still springing back, and you don't want to take the training wheels off before it's too soon.
None of us will forget the embarrassing part with the president when they're visiting the building and they end up having an argument. And it really crystallizes this issue of independence of the Fed and the ability of a president to browbeat. When that piece of paper came out, here you have the two of them. Listen to what the question and the whole issue of Fed independence is all about.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed. Public service sometimes requires standing firm in the face of threats. That case is perhaps the most important legal case in the Fed's 113-year history. And as I thought about it, I thought it might be hard to explain why I didn't attend.
This is, of course, referring to Lisa Cook. But at the end of the day, Powell's going to go down. His tenure will be about independence of the Fed.
Oh, absolutely. And he is someone who uses his words very carefully. When he says something, you could tell he's thought through it, and it's never just off-the-cuff remarks. And when he finally took the steps to speak out really firmly about what he was doing, he went to Lisa Cook's trial because he said that if he didn't do that, he would have regrets. He is staying on at the Fed, doing something that is incredibly rare to serve out a concurrent term as governor. He'll still be voting on interest rates, even when he isn't chair, to stand and protect independence.
Quick question. Will he go down as one of the great Fed chairs, do you think?
Absolutely, 100%. But I'm a bit biased here. After covering him, I really do feel he will.
And I'm grateful for your assessment. Thank you very much indeed.